All right, let's dive right into something that I think affects all of us. We're going to talk about a name for God, one that comes from way back in ancient scripture, but it speaks directly to a feeling we all know: loneliness. It's a name that promises, well, presence in a world that can make you feel completely and totally alone. So let me just ask you this straight up. Right now, wherever you're listening to this, how many other people are in the room with you? For a lot of us, I'm guessing the answer is one, just ourselves. And that experience, that feeling of being alone, that's exactly what we're digging into today. You know that feeling, right? It can be pretty powerful. Maybe you feel it when you're stuck in your car, surrounded by people but totally alone, or in a quiet hotel room far from home. We have all been there. It's just a deeply human thing. But what if that feeling of separation isn't the final word? Okay, so to really get the solution, you got to understand the problem first. This sense of distance, this feeling of being separate from, the divine. Where did that even come from? Well, it has an origin story. Let's go all the way back to the beginning. The thing is, it wasn't always supposed to be like this. According to the biblical story, the original plan, the default setting, if you will, for humanity was totally different. It was all about this close, intimate, direct presence with God. And I just love this verse from Genesis. It paints such an incredible picture. This isn't some far off, untouchable God. No, this is a God who walked in the garden in the cool of the day. I mean, can you even imagine that? A relationship so real, so tangible. It was like taking a walk with a friend. The real paradise wasn't just the garden, it was the fact that he was there. But that connection was broken. A choice was made to go a different way. And just like that, a separation was created, a distance, a spiritual void that has honestly echoed through human history ever since. That feeling of being alone, that's where it got its start. So this is where it gets really good. Because right into that separation, into that distance, the scriptures give us a name for God that is a direct answer to this whole problem. The name is Jehovah Shammah. It's a Hebrew name found way at the end of the book of Ezekiel, and its meaning is so beautifully simple but incredibly profound. It means the Lord is there. Get that? It's not the Lord was there or he will be there. It's present tense, a constant reality. The Lord is there. And Shammah is really just one piece of a bigger picture. There are all these other names for God that show us different sides of who he is. You've got Jehovah Jireh, the Lord will provide. Jehovah Shalom, the Lord is our peace. Jehovah Rophe, the Lord who heals. And right there among them, you have Jehovah Shammah, the Lord is there. It anchors his entire identity in the simple promise of his presence. So, ever since that original separation, humanity has kind of been on this epic quest to reconnect, to find a place where God's presence could live on earth again. It's this search for a home for God among us. And you can totally trace this search through the biblical story. It starts with this fading memory of Eden, that place of direct connection. Centuries later, it becomes this burning desire in King David to build a permanent house for God. And that all leads to his son building Solomon's temple, which was meant to be the ultimate physical symbol of God's presence on earth. And we really can't overstate what a massive deal this was. Solomon's temple was an architectural wonder. It took more than 7 years and just immense resources to build. The whole idea was for it to be the spot, the one place on the entire planet where God's name would physically live. But then, right at the peak of this incredible achievement, there's a huge turning point. During the dedication ceremony, King Solomon himself has this stunning realization. He asks out loud, "But will God really dwell on earth?" He gets it. Even the highest heavens can't contain God. So how could this temple made by human hands possibly do it? It's this powerful hint that the real location of God's presence might just be somewhere else entirely. And that's exactly where the story goes. It shifts. It moves away from these giant, grand temples and national projects and zooms in on something intensely personal, a one-on-one encounter. See, the search for God's presence doesn't just happen in special buildings. Sometimes it happens right in the middle of our ordinary, kind of messy lives, often when we least expect it. Take the story of a woman who came to a well in Samaria. She showed up at noon. Now, this is a really important detail. Noon was the hottest part of the day, when no one else would be out. The usual time to go get water was in the cooler morning or evening. So why was she there, all alone?
Well, she was there at that specific time to actively avoid people. The story reveals she had a difficult past, and she was hiding from the judgment and gossip of her community. She was intentionally looking for solitude, embracing her own separation.
And right there, in that moment of chosen isolation, she has an unexpected encounter. She finds her Jehovah Shammah. And this is the whole point. God met her not in a grand temple, but at an ordinary well right in the middle of her shame. His presence isn't limited by secret places or by our personal history. So this brings up a really big question. If God's presence can't be contained in a temple and he meets us in our personal, messy moments, where is his home today? Well, the story takes one more fascinating turn. The New Testament just completely redefines the whole concept. It teaches that the temple of God is no longer a building made of stone and gold. The new temple is the church, the collective body of believers. God's presence, his spirit, now lives inside his people. This idea is captured so powerfully in these lyrics from the band Casting Crowns. The song asks this direct challenge. If we are the body, if we're supposed to be the physical presence of God on earth, then why aren't his arms reaching? Why aren't his hands healing? It forces us to ask a really tough question. Are we actually showing that presence to the world? And this is where the whole story leads. For a lonely, hurting world, the promise of Jehovah Shammah, the Lord is there, is most often made real through the actions of his people. We become the hands, the arms, the answer to the world's search for God's presence. So let's end with this. Jesus once told a woman who was distracted by a million things that only one thing is necessary. In your own search for purpose and connection, with all the noise in your life, what is that one necessary thing for you? What does it mean to truly find your Jehovah Shammah, the God who is always and already there?